All right. So, I'm Balder Tangvald.
I'm Colleen Jimmer.
I'm Riley Peach. Adrian Swanberg. I'm Justin Gross-Strada.
And this is the new face of Rhea. It's nighttime. So we learned a lot from Demo Day, and we've made a couple shifts, both thematically and systemically. Thematically, our game shifted because we were looking at a lot of our puzzles, and we said, these seem really conceited, and we want to make a really natural world. So we went ahead and we changed our narrative and said, hey, how can you make puzzles seem less conceited via the narrative? So we said, what if we had these tests here, and instead, because we don't have the art support to make an entire metropolis, what if you're outside the gates of the city, and you have to pass their tests to prove your worthiness to get in? So Rhea is a first-person, exploration-driven adventure in which the player is given a powerful form of flight to surpass tests in order to get into a long-abandoned civilization. It's made in UDK and made to be compatible with the Oculus Rift. So, systemically we've changed as well, really in two regards. First being that we wanted to give players a more concrete goal in every area and a better way to traverse and explore, really just more motivation. So we created a global sort of resource system, and Riley will get into that when he talks about design. At the same time, we got a lot of feedback, mostly about, when you're inside the Rift, sometimes there is simulator sickness, and one of the things that was targeted for us was jump. And last semester, a lot of our areas were based on that. So we had a hard decision ahead of us, and we said, can we just remove jump entirely? Because we were asked to. They said, hey, consider just removing jump. And we decided, you know what, let's do it. So we hit the reset button. So what you're going to see is entirely new content. And our game is really focusing most on flying action pieces and puzzle pieces that have to do with both flying and walking. I'm going to kick it to Nielsen to talk about art.
Hey, can we tap over to the roadmap? Okay, so since we did start fresh this semester in terms of design and the world map, basically what I did start the semester with Riley in order to design the world was draw out a world map that would define sort of the scale and the tempo of our game. So from that, we then divvied up the areas into different designers and artists and that sort of stuff. But the most important part was getting this into the game as fast as we could. So what I did was take that drawing and then immediately actually take all that, put it into UDK in just simple boxes and shapes. So you'll notice the scale is set in there, and then we just literally built on top of that. So it was really easy to then make a more connected world this semester, as opposed to last semester, where we just sort of put the pieces back to, like, they connected at the final minute with the passages and that sort of stuff. So we sort of have a better streamlined world and a better vision for how it's going to work out this semester. So we're going to go to the hub, which was the main area last semester, and also this area this semester. And so the scale difference is the first thing I want to talk about, which is we basically scaled down the whole game and the world. What happened was we made some bad assumptions at the first semester, which was making assets too large right away, because we sort of had an aesthetic of this huge place near a very small part of it. But then, since we had these really large assets, designers used those large assets, and the scenes got really large, and it got insanely large, and then the flying had to sort of then shoehorn itself into those large areas. It had to be really fast, it had to be way too fast. So what we've done is just scaled it all down to get back to a better feel, and hopefully with less nausea, that sort of stuff. So we can also dress scenes better when they're smaller. You'll see, Balder's looking at the resource collectors, which are the new design element that we're using, or mechanic, this semester. And so since it is more open world this time around, and we've sort of set out to make it more open world from the beginning, we have to draw the player's attention to these elements. So that's actually something we have to really focus on now. Right now, the player isn't drawn to these things quite as quickly as we want them to be, but we're going to keep on working on improving on how the collectibles are viewed by the player, and if they can find them with relative ease and not getting lost too easily in this world. So since the world's a bit smaller and everything's more interconnected, we had to do away with the huge sort of vast differences in between areas. We had sort of disparate areas last semester, the swamp, the caverns, and the city hub. This semester, since everything is closer, they'll have distinct features, but we sort of have to bring the style in a bit more of a cohesive way. So we won't have those huge area and style changes as much before. That's it for now. In terms of what we're going to do for the rest of the semester, it's just what our always do, is polish, 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 And since we are starting fresh, some of these things won't look too polished right now, but I assure you by the end of the semester we'll have even a better looking game than we had first semester, for sure. Thank you. I'm going to pass it on to Adrian Swanberg to talk about engineering.
Thanks, Nielsen. Hey everyone, again, I'm Adrian, the lead engineer on Rhea. So to summarize, Baldur's mentioned a lot of the huge design changes that we've had. So a lot of those changes have led to changes in engineering requirements. So this semester, on top of maintaining what we already did last semester, the engineering team has been hard on work on new projects and new mechanics. So can you actually go back to the game first? Thanks. So one of the more noticeable new things in the world, you might notice, are our ether streams. So last semester we did a lot with our ether jet or ether stream effects, but you may notice in maps like this one that they're a lot longer and they curve around in really intricate shapes. And the reason we're able to do that now is because we've completely overhauled the way they work. They're now based on spline curves, and what that means for our designers is that they can literally just go into the editor using a standard pen tool, draw whatever sort of shape they want, hit play, and watch these streams come to life. So it's really kind of giving us a new level of flexibility in terms of what we can do with them. We can make loops, we can make long segments that curve in and around segments of our map, and we can kind of use them to guide the player too. That's one of the more noticeable things we've been up to. We've also kind of shifted, we wanted to re-emphasize flight this semester, because we didn't do a great job encouraging the player to fly all that much last semester. So we've been tweaking some of the more subtle features. We mentioned earlier we took out jump, so now you can't just jump into the air. So that kind of prompted us to work on this takeoff system where you kind of walk to the edge of the screen and you do like this little takeoff. And that's been tricky to get right because unlike the jump, it's not supposed to make you feel like you have this sudden change of momentum. So we're pretty pleased with where it is in terms of in Rift. It's a pretty smooth transition from on the ground to in the air. Now in terms of gameplay encounters, last semester we showed off this cool bridge building puzzle that featured an Easter egg too, if you guys remember that. Those are coming back in the game real soon. Unfortunately, we're not ready to show off some of our newer gameplay encounters, including our reworked bridge builder puzzle. But we will be able to show them off by demo day, and we're really excited by the potential that we see in them right now. Some more behind-the-scenes stuff. Our game, the world of Rhea, is just a lot more stateful now than it used to be last semester. In terms of, there's a lot of actions the player can take that permanently changes the makeup of the environment. And so we can't have the entire world loaded in at once for performance reasons. So one of our technical challenges this semester has been just how to persist the state of the world as you move through it in whatever order you please. We've also been working on destruction. Again, not something we're ready to show off yet. It's been something that has been in a work in progress for a while, but we are just about ready to start inserting it into our levels. And we're at the point where we're really pleased with the subtlety of the effects. We've got dust particles coming off of broken chunks. We've got sound effects. So looking forward to having that in by demo day as well. Last thing I want to mention is our metrics project that I mentioned at finals last semester. We fully kicked off our metrics project. Baldur's bringing up a visual here. Like a lot of other teams, we're really interested in how our players are reacting to the game and what they're doing while they're playing and where they're getting stuck, where they're getting frustrated. So we have this system for which we actually welcome 2 new engineers to the team to really ramp up quickly. And so what you're seeing here is a simple visualization of player positions during the course of a playthrough. I think this was me a couple days ago just playing through the City Hub, doing whatever I wanted to do. And you'll see here, basically the red spheres are snapshots of where the player was every second and a half or so. And those white on black images represent takeoff and landing sequences for flying. So just by glancing at a visualization like this, designers can know where exactly players are spending most of their time, where exactly they're getting stuck, and where they did and didn't ultimately make it. And of course, we've also got a new server in the AWS cloud that sits out there and just collects playtest data from across multiple machines. So basically, we're just sending it over the network. Also handles our lobbies for our matchmaking system. Joke. Yeah, we're really hoping this metric system enables our designers to see what is and isn't working and iterate quickly and ultimately come up with the best experience. All right, that's it for engineering. I'm going to pass it along to Riley to talk about design.
Hey everyone. So this mic keeps cutting in and out, but so I'm going to talk a little bit about the big design changes that we've done over the course of the semester so far. One big thing is that Nielsen touched on this earlier. We addressed a lot of issues of scope, not necessarily in terms of what we wanted to present with regards to content or even how much content we wanted to present it, but simply the way that we were going to be giving it to the player. One big thing was that we had a problem with interaction density last semester, and that was that when you would get into a space, you would want to be interacting with a lot of things, but it involved a lot of walking in between. Additionally, those spaces weren't really built, the bare bones of them weren't really built for a flight system, since we were developing the flight system concurrently with with all of our levels. So this semester what we've taken is a focus on separating spaces into, what is very distinctly flying and what is very distinctly a walking area. This one that you see here is really large in its space, but you traverse it very quickly with our flight system, and there's not confusion about what the player should be doing, as well as addressing these issues of space scope. It gives us the opportunity to really focus in on the dynamic ebb and flow of slow-paced content and fast-paced content, which we want to get going in the Rift. We've always been, since the start, looking to find that middle ground between action and exploration, and separating the spaces a little bit more distinctly has done that for us. In addition to this change of scope, we've removed jump, which has also helped going toward the pacing that we're looking for in the game. There's a lot less action platforming sequences, and the walking sections are a bit more about interaction and exploration than they are about that action, which we already are getting from the flight system.
Whoa.
Here you're actually seeing our collector system being used. This collector system does a lot of stuff for us. It was something that we added for a couple of reasons. On a basic level, there are these power crystals that you can find throughout the world that you invest in these collectors. These collectors were used by that civilization to power different mechanisms and devices throughout the world. And what it gives us is an opportunity to not only incentivize exploration by adding value to objects that the player can possess, but also sort of quantify the progress that the player is making through the world. As they progress through the world, they can find the different crystals, and if they find that they can't progress further, they need to go and backtrack and find more of these crystals so that they can use these resources and reinvest them smartly so that they can progress further. A lot of these spaces that you're seeing had a lot of touch-up with regards to kind of visual acuity and moving players in the right direction. So finally, actually going past our collector system is the end game, which is what the collectors are building toward. We finally are aiming for a very clear end game, which we're going to see a little bit later in the presentation, or at least the kind of hint at it. We wanted to clarify the player purpose throughout the world, and what it is going to these different areas and grabbing these crystals and compiling them until we finally get to a point where there's a door that you visit near the start of the game that you can then access at the end of the game if you've completed the outlying areas of the civilization. Also, we've done a lot of changes with regards to narrative. We actually don't have a lot of them in right now because they're in progress, and we want to show you guys a final product come demo day. But one of the big things that we've done is started working toward a VO that's going to be going over the game. There's a couple reasons for us adding a VO this late in the process. One is that it's going to give us an opportunity to tell a much more complex story in a short amount of time. That's something that's hard to do in a demo day type setting, but it's going to give us the opportunity to hit a lot of the points for the player experience that we wouldn't have been able to hit normally. In this space, which is the Ether Sanctuary, we see Baldur kind of activating these different collectors that you've seen throughout the spaces to get a change in the space and navigate further. So as you can see, this is one space that's dedicated to a primary interaction that mixes flight and walking around, but doesn't involve a lot of tedious figuring out kind of negligible exploration. We really want the player goal to be clear. And that's about it for design. That's a lot of design changes that have occurred since demo day, and we've been having a lot of fun addressing those concerns that were brought up at demo day because it's given us an opportunity to create a much better player experience. I'm going to pass this off to Colleen. She's going to talk about our production.
Hey, so usability has been a really important concern to us from the start of our project because we really want to make sure that all of our players are feeling really comfortable throughout our experience. And we got a lot of really great feedback in our first semester. We've just continued to, hold a lot of play tests, and we've had a lot of positive feedback from the design changes we've made. In one of our play tests, none of the play testers got sick throughout our whole first 20 minutes of content, which was really great to see that our changes have been really impacting our game. And, we are aware that there are certain things that we still want to work on and focus on for getting to Demo Day 2, like the particle systems. There's a little bit of ideas about iterating on those. And we're just going to continue to do a lot of usability work, especially with our new metric system. That's going to help us a lot. Otherwise, our main production goals, we're really working on polishing up our game, just really creating a complete experience, but not just making it look better, but also just making sure that every single interaction in the game is really meaningful and the players really walk away just being in awe, I guess, of Rhea. Our team has done so much great work so far, and I'm just so proud of how much everybody stepped up to really be able to implement this whole new world design this semester. So I'm just so excited for you guys to check this out at Demo Day. Balder?
Yeah, that'll about do it for us. I guess thanks for watching. If you have any questions, now's a good time.
How long do you think the play time is going to be on the device go?
We were, try to scale that back a lot so there's not a lot of the tedious extra walking. We're thinking it's going to be closer to 20 minutes or 15 minutes rather than what it was before, which was actually 5.
Yeah, that was the entire game actually. That was the section, but it was one of our earlier test map iterations. We changed to cut down some of the areas.
You inspired me to put